Today's topic is about files. We will see what are files, the types of files, the file structure, and the two functions fopen and fclose for opening a file and closing a file, and what are the different modes in which you can open the different files. What is a file? File, you can say it is a basic entity of information that you're storing in your computer or memory, you can say. Like you'll be having folders, and in the folders you'll be storing files. Files can be of different type. You're having text files, C file, header files. If it is a header file, you're having the extension .h. If it's a C file, you're having the extension .c. If you're having an object code file, you will be having .o or .obj. If you're having an executable file, its extension would be .exe. Similarly, if it's an image, you're having JPG, PNG, etc. So by the extension, you can understand the type of information that you have stored in that particular file. That is a basic entity that you're storing. And these files will be stored onto the secondary storage and not on the primary storage. The advantage of storing a file in a secondary storage is that even when you shut down the computer, it remains in the system. Else, what happens if you store in the primary storage? It goes off. The memory is volatile, so it gets deleted off when you shut down the system. All the files that you have stored, it always resides in the secondary storage. If you want to operate on those files, you have to bring those files into the primary storage. Similarly, when you're over with the files, you will be storing it back to the secondary storage. Similarly, the files, your header files that you're having, it is stored in the secondary storage. When you're compiling your C program, it is brought from the secondary storage, linked along with your program, and then executed. Any program that you're writing, for example, if you're writing a C program, it is initially in the primary memory. When you're giving it as save as, it goes and stores in the secondary storage. That's why whenever you have not saved the program and the current gets shut down, current power supply goes off, you do not see your program if you have not saved it, because primary storage is volatile memory. Whenever there is no current, the memory goes off blank, that is, it is all erased off. Whereas secondary storage is non-volatile memory storage. It is a permanent storage method. So whenever you're operating on the files, you bring from the secondary storage to memory storage, as well as when you're over with it, you're storing it back onto the secondary storage for later use. Now you can have two types of files basically. One is text files and the other is the binary files. We have divided the type of files based on the content on how it is storing. Both binary and text files will be containing data stored as binary values, ones and zeros, no other way. But in text files, we represent it as characters, whereas in binary files, we represent it as binary data. And the binary data depends upon it is called as a record, it depends upon the type of file that you're storing. In a text file, you're having characters. And for example, for binary files, you can say .png, it's an image file, and the binary data represents your images when it is converted to the file it represents. So binary files depends upon the application that uses the file. So if you're opening an image file as in a text pad or a notepad, you can see just characters which are not understandable. So binary files are supposed to be opened by the application in which you have stored. Like you cannot open an MP3 file using a notepad. So all those comes under binary files, where the details or the information is dependent upon the application. So it is called as a record. The format or the record is defined by the application. Whereas in text files, the binary data depends on the processor, 8 bits or 16 bits, represents a single character, and it is opened using a WordPad or a notepad, like that. Text files are the normal files, .txt files, or you can have the RTF files, rich text files, which includes not only the characters but also includes the formats or fonts in which you can modify them. Both of this can be opened using the notepad or any text editors. Whenever you open these files, you see all the contents as a plain text. You can read it, it is understandable. You can easily edit it as well as delete the contents or modify the contents or write new contents, and it is easily maintainable and doesn't and takes a lots of storage space. There is no security for it. When you come under if you want to move to the next line, you're having the slash n, or it is called as end of line. It's a marker. Or if it is the end of the file, the whole file is over, you're having a special character called EOF to understand the end of file. These are not but present in the binary files. Binary files, on the other hand, I told you it is grouped into 8 and 16 bits and represents a custom data, depends on the application in which you are storing the data. Images, it can be audio, text, etc. And it can be opened only using that particular application. If you open it on a text editor, it is not possible to understand what it is written. You can see some garbage data like that. If you open it using like an image file .jpg, if you open it using a text editor, unrecognizable characters is being seen. But if you open it using a photo editor, you can see the data as a single image. Now, what are the use of files in your programming, C programming? Sometimes your program requires a large amount of data that is to be given as input, like you're taking data from a database, or sometimes you want to update data into your database, or you're generating large amount of volume of output which cannot be seen on a screen and it is required for later purpose, or you're having data that has been previously generated and you require those data into your programming. For all these purposes, we have to incorporate or integrate the files into your C programming. Now, the different file operations that can be carried on onto a file. You can create a new file, or you can open an existing file, read from a file, write into a file. You can move to a specific location only in random files, okay? A specific location in a file and closing of a file. These are the main operations that can be done onto the file. The basic file operating functions. Randomly we'll see first and then you can see it later. fopen for opening a new file, or you can create a new file. Then fclose for closing a file. Get C and put C to read and write character into a file. Get W, put W, read and write an integer to and from a file. fscanf to read a set of values, that is a formatted style. fprintf to write a formatted set of data values onto a file. fseek to move to the desired location, particular location, into a random file. ftell give the current position or the pointer or the location of the file. Rewind to set the position of the pointer to the beginning of the file. There are many other functions, basically important functions I have described over here. Now, the different opening modes, depending upon the operation that you want to perform on the files, you have to open the file in that particular mode. For doing any operations, first you have to open the file, do the operation, and then close the file. When you're opening, you have to specify which mode you are doing it. So to open a text file in a read mode, you have to use the mode R. For writing or creating a new text file, W. To append or any data to an existing file, you're opening in the mode A. Along with the, when you're using the function fopen, you will be passing the parameter R, W, or A if you want to read, write, and append. Now R plus to open a text in both reading and writing mode. W plus open the text file in both reading and writing mode. A plus to append any data both in reading and writing mode. The differences we will tell later. Now the file opening modes in a binary file, you are having RB, WB, AB, read, write and append. Similarly, for both in reading and writing mode, if you want to open the file, you are having RB plus, WB plus, AB plus. The B stands for the binary file. Without the B, it goes for the text files. The 4 essential actions that are required when you're using the files. First, you have to declare a file pointer. A file pointer is of type structure file. We'll see it later. Then you have to open the file using the fopen function in a particular mode. Then you can process the file, whatever operations that you want to do. Then, like reading and writing, then you have to close the file. Only when you're closing the file gets saved onto your secondary storage. When you're opening, the file from the secondary storage is brought into the primary memory. Now declaring a file pointer. File in capital is the structure. The syntax is file star file pointer name. Star or the indirection operator stands for a pointer name. And example how you can specify is file star fptr1 star fptr2 etc. Or it can be star ifptr input file pointer or output file pointer ofptr. Any pointer, like how you're giving any variable names, you can give the file pointer names. Same rules or regulations for declaring the pointers. To perform any IO operations, input or output operations onto a file, we require a file pointer. And this file structure, it is defined in the header file stdio.h, stands for standard input output header file. Now directly when you're writing any data or reading any data, it is not taken directly into the memory. It is written in a particular stream, or you can say as a buffer. And this stream of the buffer manages all the input output operations that we are performing. And it is being written, or you can read it from the file with the help of a file pointer. How you can open a file? So before you're opening, what you have to do is declare a file pointer file star fp. Fp equal to fopen. Fopen is a function, and the parameter that you're passing is the file name and the mode, which we have discussed before. Fp is declared as the pointer to the data type file, and file name is the file name that you wish to create or wish to open, and mode you're having read, write and append. And in this way you can open the file. Suppose you are trying to open a file that is not existing, it will create a new file and open it for you, and that particular file names locations address is being passed back to the pointer fp. Now there are two cases. One is you are successful in opening the file, the other is not successful or unsuccessful, you can say. If it is successful, a correct memory location where the file exists would be sent, file existing in the primary memory. Okay, so that memory address will be passed back to the pointer. If it is unsuccessful, then it will be passing back a null. So if it is successful, you will be performing the operations. If it is not successful, you will return back from the program, or you can exit the program. Now when it comes to executing the function fopen in the read mode, what is being done? First, it is searched in the secondary storage or the disk where the file is to be opened. Then it loads the file from the disk into the memory called buffer, that is in the primary memory, and the character point that points to the first character in the buffer is being returned back to the file pointer that you're declaring. So first search it in the secondary storage, load it to the primary memory and return back the file pointer or the character pointer of its location. This is the diagrammatical representation. In the disk you're having the file part1.c. When it is being trying to open, it is brought into the memory, and the first location is 40 and it is stored into the pointer fp, and that is saved into the buffer in the memory. After processing of the data in the file, either reading, writing or appending, you have to close the file. That must be remembered. If you don't close the file, what will happen? It will not be written back into your secondary storage, and all the changes that you have brought will not be seen later. So fclose, so what happens is it returns 0 on success and end of file if there is an error in closing the file. EOF is a constant that is defined in the same header. stdio.h represents end of file, and the general syntax is fclose, and you will be passing the parameter of the file pointer. Now this is a simple program, not a complete program, just the overview of how you will be writing a program with files. You have to declare a file structure initially, file in capital, file star fp. Fp is the pointer, file is the structure defined in stdio.h. Function fopen, you're passing two parameters, the file name and the mode in which you want to open. Here file name is test.txt and you're opening in write mode. So if it does not exist, it will be opening a new file. If it exists, it will again rewrite over what it has been written already. And if the correct location or the function is successful, pointer will be returned to fp. If it is not successful, it will be returning as null. So you're checking over there. If fp equal to null, file cannot be opened and you can return or you can exit the program. Else you can do the particular operations that you want, and then you're closing the file that you have opened, fclose of fp. End of file is a integer constant having a value -1 usually, and it is defined in the file stdio.h, and it represents the end of a file. And when you're returning back, when you're closing a function, if it is returned as EOF, means some error has occurred and it couldn't be saved properly onto the secondary storage. We have seen the file opening modes. Once more we'll see it into detail. When you're opening the file in the read mode, what happens? It will be searching the disk. If the file is present, the pointer in which it is pointing to, that is in the memory or the buffer, it will be sent to the fptr. And if it is cannot be opened, it will be returning null, and it is used for reading from the file. In the second case, write. If a file exists, it is overwritten. If the file does not exist, a new file is created. If it cannot be opened, it returns a null value used for writing into the file. Append mode, it searches the file. If the file is opened successfully, it is loaded into the memory or the buffer and the pointer is passed back. If it does not exist, a new file is created. If it is unsuccessfully opened, it returns a null value. It is used for adding new contents to an existing file or simply creates a file for a non-existing file. And the new contents are added at end of file. That is a last character which is already been written. Now R plus, it is read and write. R allows you to read whatever has been written already. Okay, and writing, it helps you to write new contents, or existing you can modify the contents. In W plus, you can write the new contents and read the new contents and modify the existing contents. Append mode, reading and writing of both the existing contents, appending new data, but you cannot modify the existing contents. Only you can read the data. Hope the difference is understood. Hope the basics of the file, the file operating modes the functions fopen and the fclose functions are been clear. Next part we will see the rest.